Another episode of the South. Today we're gonna talk about. No, it's gonna be Reddit related probably. I do not wanna go through yesterday's book summary, which was about wisdom. It's an interesting book, but that's it. But I'm a show user browser. What is a way to gain mental peace from being used as a punching bag for bullies and even becoming mute due to being insulted for ever daring to smile, laugh or be yourself and didn't punch them, which made a lot of people insult you for being a coward? I don't know what people are saying now. I mean, it is very specific. I would suggest therapy. And that's probably actually it, because I don't know, we all can just say something. Anyway, my friend, I think you would do well to seek out some psychiatric guidance moving forward. Stoicism is great and can help you along the way, but there is no quote or passage or life hack that anyone here is going to rejuvenate here in the comments that is going to, quote, flip a switch, quote unquote, in your brain and improve everything. You have trauma in your past that is inhibiting your ability to move forward in life with confidence. You need to fundamentally rework your pattern of thinking to move on and heal. Routinely visiting a trained psychologist could really turn things around for you. As I said, I think it is just incredibly difficult to name a specific whatever, whether it is a tactic, a quote, a saying, even if it is something that really helped you. It may not just help this person, period. And this is why I'm keeping my mouth shut, because I'm not having any experience in this field, so I'm not gonna talk about it. Be the quiet one, doing, not the loud one. Be the quiet one, doing, not the loud one, talking. The smartest, toughest, or coolest person in the room is never the one trying to prove it. Well, I would not necessarily say that. There for sure are some people that are quite clever and are just not having any confidence in themselves, and therefore they have to prove it. This is one reason why I dislike most often such quotes or such sayings, and also things like work in the dark and never talk to anyone about your dreams or some bullshit like that. Like, why? Why should this be good? Is anyone gonna steal your ideas? Well, don't talk about them or talk about your ideas well, you can do so, but not being specific and just not being fucking dumb. But it is not about working in the dark and just, letting no one being able. No, it doesn't make any sense. Anyway. Today I learned that by letting a wolf population recover, traffic collisions caused by deer are reduced by nearly 25%. The reduction is not based on as much on the decimation of the deer population, but on the landscape of fear created by the wolves. Which makes sense. As far as I remember, there was something about birds in China and rice fields. Rice not growing as quickly and or as efficient as it could because of some insect and whatnot, and therefore they've chosen to well, they somehow got rid of some bird because of whatever reason. Maybe because they I don't know, they take those insects with them or whatever. The point is, because of that, there was some imbalance in the system, some imbalance in the whole ecosystem of China or of these regions. Might also be Japan. It is or was an Asian country, and in the end, everything was even worse than it was before, and they even had to buy those birds in a few hundred years later or a few years later to rebalance all this ecosystem disaster they themselves have created. So in the end, they spent a lot of money and didn't gain anything by doing so. They just lost and lost and lost. So I do remember it was about decisions and consequences, and understanding that the immediate consequence might not be the only one, and down the road there might be just a lot of consequences that you may not necessarily see by choosing a certain option, but one should really try to see them and really try to make sure that we are not overseeing anything. I mean, if I don't know, if I think, okay, I'm gonna eat a lot of protein because I want to get buff, maybe it just turns out that I might be fat, because this is how thermodynamics work. Very bad example, but I think you know what I mean. Thinking about the consequences and second order consequences as well, there might also be some third order consequences and so on and so forth, is really important and should not be neglected. Why do you need a new URL for landing pages? Well, I don't care. Who here has tried the practice of sleeping on the floor? If so, did you find it an enlightening experience or not? I did so. I did purposefully sleep on the floor for, I think it was 2 consecutive days, and sometimes like 1 day and whatnot. What I have noticed is that it works, and I've always slept quite well. It is definitely also something to try when you're having problems sleeping. Just try sleeping on the floor. Sometimes it works for whatever reason. But the biggest thing that I've noticed was me being fucking happy about sleeping in my bed again and realizing how cozy it is, how nice it feels, and how well my back is supported, and how soft it is, compared to the fucking floor. I think it is worth it by taking certain measures, meaning I did not sleep on the floor. I've had some blanket and some isolation because I didn't want to get fucking ill, but not that much. So I've clearly felt the floor, and the experience was, of course, a bit more, I don't know, what do you want to call it, a bit more humanistic or whatever. But anyway, let's actually see what people are saying. I slept on the floor for several months just after college. I did use a pillow and a couple of blankets because I wasn't doing it for philosophy. I'm sorry, I was broke. I wasn't painful. It wasn't painful, and I'd probably still sleep that way if I wasn't married. I wouldn't call it enlightening. It is more than there is no reason to fear the lack of material things after you've been in that situation. Yes, which I think is also the point in Stoicism, to notice that you can live like this as well. So you're able to do so. Once you have lost everything, you can also sleep on the floor, and so on and so forth. That is somewhat enlightening in its own way, perhaps not nirvana-esque, but to some small degree. Do you believe it may have played some part in the building of your character in your later life, or do you think there was nothing gained from it? I've actually slept on the floor my whole life. Koreans tend to do this, the traditional ones at least. don't you use a sort of small bed, or you sleep directly into the ground? Well, I don't really hope that they sleep into the ground or in the ground. No beds, pretty much a mat on the floor, because the floor can get dirty, but it's not too bad. I'm going to blame my own stupid ignorance for this, but I never even considered when making this post that the idea of sleeping on the floor isn't really strange for people who live in the East, as I believe it is in the West. Don't worry, I was the same as you, only vice versa. I thought everyone in the West slept on the floor, like people in the East. Dorking in college was a surprise to me. Sleeping on the floor helped me realize what is going on. My Western bed sucked ass, and that I needed to change my bedding back to basics. I currently sleep on a shikibutton, whatever, SHIKIBUTON, a Japanese futon, FUTON, I guess, on a tatami, grass mat / pads. I've made myself very fancy silk sheets, pillowcases, and encasements. Even though it is simple, my bed is really nice. Once in a while I sleep on a hard tatami mat. It does help me appreciate the following day's rest in my regular bedding. Nothing beats sleeping in smooth silk after a night on the hard grass mat. Sleeping on that hard tatami or on the floor is 1000% better for me than memory foam spring multi-layer beds. They all fucked up my back so badly. Do you have any pictures of your bed setup? Sounds really exotic. I would like to see that. Is this... There we go. Well, it is some bed. It's not much, really not much. I think your post might have inspired me to actually ditch my bed. I've been considering a more minimalistic bed setup for a while, but I've just never fully committed, as I've never slept on the floor and I'm unsure whether it'd be comfortable enough for me to just get rid of my bed entirely. But I've had a look about now thanks to you. I'm feeling motivated. I'm going to give sleeping on the floor tonight with the closest approximation I can get. See if I like it, then I am probably just gonna jump in. Is there anything you'd think important for me to consider? Any helpful advice with looking after a shiki button? And there was no answer to that, but yeah. Maybe you consider doing so as well. What I've just realized before is that it would really save a lot of space. Because you can roll up this fucking mat and put it somewhere. Also your bedding, maybe in some closet or whatever. And you're just all of a sudden having a lot of fucking space. But yeah, anyway, I'm gonna see you the next time. Bye bye.